Hello and welcome to Tasting Notes for Basics Red and White, August 2007. For this month, we picked two fantastic wines that falls into the basic category. Chardonnay, I think it's as basic as it gets, but we picked something that was a little more interesting from a very interesting region, being Australia. And then we also picked a Cabernet from a very famous region in California, being the Napa Valley. Two great values that fit the basic category and I think over-deliver on flavor relative to price point. So let's get into the first wine. The first wine is the 2006 Nell Chardonnay from Yering Station, located in the Yarra Valley of Australia, specifically Victoria. The region of Yarra Valley falls just 45 minutes outside of Melbourne and is relative to Australia on the cool side. Chardonnay is a grape that can grow in a lot of regions, but when it grows in cool climates, it tends to remain balanced and focused. Chardonnay in the last, let's call it 5 to 7 years, has gotten a bit of a bad rap, specifically with the California versions being a bit too oaky and a bit too buttery and a bit too big for its britches. This particular Chardonnay, being grown in a cooler climate and being very careful with the use of oak and malolactic, which is what creates the buttery sensation, to me is something that keeps everything in focus. So let's give it a go and see what we think. Exactly what I expected. Fresh fruit, melon, white peach. There's definitely a bit of oak in the background. It sees something like 5 months of some French oak, but it's there just to enhance the flavors. It brings everything to the surface, enhances and rounds flavors. There's still a very fresh acidity to it that keeps it clean. Oak should be an addition to a wine, not the dominant flavor, and I think in this instance it definitely is a great integration to the overall flavor for this wine. Body-wise, it falls into medium to full-bodied, which is traditional with Chardonnays. This has very crisp acidity. The fruit profile, as I mentioned, is white peach and melon. Tannin structure to it is moderate to low. And some of the things I think it would work with food-wise are shellfishes, maybe a grilled scallop, Chilean sea bass with a bit of a spicy sauce, or it drinks fantastic on its own because it has such crisp acidity to it. The regular price on this wine is $13.49, and for Wine Club members on a repurchase, if you like it, it's going to be $12.14. For my red choice, I picked a fabulous Cabernet from the heart of Napa Valley. It's from a winery that will be very appropriate to football season being right around the corner. So for you football fans out there, you'll appreciate that I picked a wine called Four Bears Cabernet. Napa Valley is said to be one of the premier growing regions for this grape. The only issues I ever have with Napa Valley Cabernets, generally speaking, is they are overpriced. They command a high dollar point, they get big scores, and as a result, it's really hard to find a decent one at under $30. Today, we have found one that's under $20. This wine retails for $15.99, and for Wine Club members, this wine turns out to be $14.39. Let's give it a go and see what we think of it. On the nose, I get plenty of blackberry, cassis, cherry. The fruit on this really jumps out the glass. It's very typical of what you find in the New World, specifically out of Napa Valley, being bold fruit right up front. This wine follows through in its profile on the palate with full blackberry, cassis, cherry. The tannin structure to it, I would say, is on the moderate side. It's what the expectation would be out of Cabernet, in that a varietal characteristic of Cabernet is to have a bit of tannin, and if you don't have it, then it's not Cabernet. This definitely has The tannin structure to this definitely is on the medium plus side, and it really adds structure to it. But really the first thing I noted on this was dark black fruit right up front. It has a secondary note of some cedar, some coffee, some earth in the backbone. The acid level to it is, I'd say, medium plus, and it overall is just a varietally correct Cabernet that offers fantastic value at $15.99. Some of the dishes I would pair with this, being that it's a Cabernet that leads with fruit and is a much more approachable, drinkable style Cabernet, I'd put it together with some pizza, burgers. You know, if you're being a little more special occasion and feel like grilling a steak, I think this would work well with a peppercorn grilled New York sirloin, something on the fuller flavored side. But again, this wine with its approachable style drinks very well on its own. As I said, the regular retail on this is $15.99. And for wine club members out there that are interested in buying on a repurchase, this wine ends up being $14.39, which is a fantastic